I'm Vitaly Portnikov. My friends, the Naftogaz of Ukraine company informed me today that we were really on a large-scale attack at night. On the gas-producing muck of Ukraine, the cob of Russian-Ukrainian guilt. Often at the facility of Naftogaz of Ukraine, the night-critical Pashkoji became conceited. The whole attack is on the gas production of Ukraine. Vitaly Putin's chair, Yaki having put in front of him, literally since the last months of the Russian-Ukrainian war. Ukraine before the surrender of the nobility of our energy. The freezing of Ukraine has not yet followed the fate of the troops. Putin's concepts for the offensive periods of the Russian-Ukrainian confrontation are so frequent. Moreover, the Russian president may pursue the tasks of Kola. Here are not such large-scale attacks on the gas of Ukraine. Ukraine has long been shot down by Gazprom. It has not been Russian gas for a long time. And Putin needs to demonstrate that Ukraine simply cannot survive with the Russian gas monopolist. And the view of Ukraine, both from the production of Russian gas and the transit of gas to Europe, has become a serious problem for the energy complex of our Ukraine. Gas infrastructure of Ukraine. Extremely these proofs are meekly seeming, without looking terrorist. Putin needs a tin of guilt, both for Ukraine and for Europe. That and without hitting the energy. And from the fact that such strikes were inflicted, the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation spoke. Overgrown in Ukraine to European partners. For such imperious gas on the light market. And the mud of energy, especially in the mines of Russia, is opposed from the winter of the attack on the Ukrainian energy sector. A signal that Putin is not Tilky, not thinking about the completion of guilt. The size is overscaling, over the fact that the strikes on the Ukrainian energy sector have become systemic. And European Ukrainians have become conceited of financial expenses in the legacy of post-war attacks by Russian drones. I'll guess more Kola was such a mass-produced Persia. Be present from Russian drones at the windward just and Poland. And the whole of Ukraine was tormented by the topic of closing its civil airports. I was wondering about the test yet Russia put on its drones. Tell him it's not a sword and an argument. To close the international airports of Frankfurt, Munich. On that Kola Russian drones Bachil and Povichu in the expanse of Poland. On the Java of drones in German just richly who respected not science fiction, just the fact that explained the yacht drones showed up there. And can't get to not from Ukraine. Already the axis of the drones is already in it, and I have already guessed, to close Munich International Airport, and at the same time. You are ritually leaving the operation at Prague International Airport, and I am in the reality of civil aviation in European Ukraine. To what? Russia wants to demonstrate. I also Ukraine, Russian energy, Russia Ukrainian with efficiency and cruelty. I also agree that Russian airports should be closed by attacks of Ukrainian drones. Russia will work to paralyze everything on the windy collapse of Europe and the chaotic situation in the economy of Ukraine on the European continent. To date, the President of the Russian Federation has also called the visco-technical approach and the proto-European edge. The doors of mines are enough for politicization, for the Pastina hybrid war with the European Ukraine, and the Tina offensive rocky guilt, is not tilka for Russia, but for Europe. Blows to the Ukrainian energy sector, blows to the gas supply of Ukraine on the Namagany itself. Yes, Europe pays pennies to those who will torture the Maya in order for the Russian-Ukrainian guilt to continue without their prospects, and return to Ukraine for strikes on the Russian-dropped forces, on the energy and auto infrastructure of the Russian Federation. And there are still no bright prospects of a closed guilt. It's not you who are still putting the board on Russia, but the chaos at the airports of Europe. You are still hitting the Russian energy infrastructure, leading Tilky to the point that Ukraine, including the power gas infrastructure, is due to and before the European ones. So they will be added for an hour with the President of the Russian Federation on those mines. Stick it out with him. The ideas of the Russian, and we are talking about strikes on the gas of Ukraine. And we are talking about strikes on the energy sector headline. We are standing with you as scrolls and victims of Russia's windy terror against the civil quarters of Ukrainian places. With a direct one meal on the main task, the yak on the seams will complete the Russian-Ukrainian guilt. And not with 3 shlyak to Putin, the shlyak of the surrender of Ukraine. And with the complete dismantling of the Ukrainian state hateful to Putin. And for the sake of dismantling, in order for Ukraine to get out of the political map retinue, on the crime-free of his evil army on Ukrainian soil, Putin is happy to freeze Ukrainians, and the gates for Europe, seeming no more comfortable than the mind for up to Ukraine when hiring in place. Tilky and Putin's results may be directly protest to that to be ensured in the Kremlin. European Ukraine is aware of the cruelty of the Russian president, about his readiness. And you're on non-human visits for the Rada from political dividends. And with such a rank, Ukraine and the civil population will survive, and it will stand in the minds of Russia. Ukrainian energy can be identified as an important political task for European countries, and Putin's obvious adoration will continue hybrid guilt against Europe. Dyakuyu. Finish on the channel on social, on the channel Patreon helps to develop these resources, these sponsorship points yourself.